Hello, I'm Joel Baird, the General Manager of Missoula Community Access Television, inviting you to take some time to learn about local elections for the Missoula area in November 2024. To that end, Christopher Paul Buckles is in the studio with me. He is running to represent you in House District 100. Paul, thanks so much for taking the time to come by and talk about your candidacy. So as you know, I sent the same set of questions to all the potential candidates, both for the House, which you are running for, and the Senate, and whoever wanted to come by in the beautiful library in the beautiful MCAT studio is coming by. And I sent the same questions to everyone, which were really just meant to give you like a little touch point to talk about your campaign.
100%.
So to that end, here's your first question. What inspired you to run for this office?
So it was actually after several months of, after meeting Sam Redford. He's the president for Montana Veterans Association. Oh, yeah. And after, I'd say about 3 months, he mentioned, hey, there's a spot opening up for the House, and would you be interested? And really with everything taking place this year with a possible Medicaid expansion or reduction, as a provider for the state of Montana, I really felt it was my responsibility to step up and throw my hat in the ring, basically, and go, I feel a call to help out the system that our members are currently being served by.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
And before we started recording, you were telling me a little bit about that work. So the Medicaid system is for people under 65, right, who need the safety net for medical services that are both bodily and psychological.
Right. And currently the predominant population is that of the psychological, the SDMI population. And so we serve the population that would be suffering from paranoid schizophrenia, bipolar, depression, gender dysphoria is actually a quarter of our population. Wow. And we serve both in-home and community-based support. And
you were explaining that to me too, that you would assess your client, and if the client warranted or was functional enough, you would do the community support?
So the state of Montana or Pacific Quality Health would actually send out a nurse supervisor to do that assessment. Yeah. And once that assessment on ADLs, or activities of daily living, had been completed, if that member had scored high enough, they have a lot of disability factors, if that makes sense. Yeah. And if they need a ton of support, then they're higher up on the list. They might not even be on a wait list. They might get immediate service depending on what they need.
I gotcha.
And then when they get that service, then they're actually referred out to a case management team based on their disability. And then that case management team reaches out to a provider, and that's where I come in. Our company, Big Sky Life Support HCBS, provides that care.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
So because you were interacting so much with the state, you thought, I should learn more about state politics. And then could you tell people what area House District 100 involves?
So that's the north side of town. Okay. If you're driving down Broadway, heading east toward the M, it's everything to your left to Van Buren, and then it kind of does a little trickle over into River Road. There's a few trailers over in that area and apartments that are also part of HD 100, but I think they're just trying to get the numbers.
More concentrated.
Oh, absolutely.
A fellow came down, Ted Morgan, came down from Condon, and his district goes from Condon to Miller Creek.
Right.
So he had quite a territory to represent. Well, I guess that goes to question 2. It seems like you had like a specific reason to run. In a broader sense, the question asks, how do you see Missoula County? What do you like about it? What would you like to improve, on a broader basis? But I see you've got a bit of a concentration like the north side for your district.
For sure. Missoula, as soon as I came here in '89, I knew that this was home. I love the melting pot of Missoula. I'm a musician, and I've played in punk rock bands to metal bands to country bands to just rock and roll bands, and you find all of that across Montana, and for some reason it all comes together in this hub of Missoula. And I would want to focus on like building that up again. I know it in the late 90s, early 2000s, like we were talking about the Jays upstairs.
Yeah, we're talking about the good old days of our sleepy town.
Yeah, we're really lacking in that as far as what I see for what that's available for, you know, the youth they're ready to go. You know, that there's so much talent in Missoula. It's amazing, and so I'd really want to work on, you know, just, you know, funding that, you know, and I would want to really address our chronically homeless population.
New story, isn't it?
You know,
I mean, when we look back at the year 2000 and fast forward a quarter century, I don't think anyone saw it coming.
Well, yeah, I watch my population really get discriminated against. Okay, so if you're suffering
you mean people suffering mental illness that interferes with their ability to hold a job and so on,
and even be in compliance with community standards. So if we have a member that has a breakdown, the police show up. There's a report. Oops, you lose your housing voucher. Now you're out, you have no housing voucher. We all know that rent is now starting at like $2,000 here in Missoula. Ridiculous. It's ridiculous. I really think it could be remedied with supportive housing. I believe, well, that really is our nonprofit's whole focus. Big Sky Life Support, HCBS, is a nonprofit, and our whole focus is to provide a supportive community for that population and free housing for those who are serving it.
Oh, interesting incitement, right?
Yeah. You know, I believe with the experience that we have in our collective board that we can build really very energy efficient units, and if they're free for employees, how much more incentive is it to actually stay and serve a population that they shouldn't be on the streets?
Yeah, well, that is a lot. All right, I gotta move you along because everyone's doing 15 minutes or so. If you were elected to the seat in Montana House, District 100, dear viewer, what would you like most about the job and least about the job?
Most, of course, being able to speak for HD 100, those who are struggling, those who are making $5 more than you can to actually qualify for Medicaid benefits, and go, well, guess I'm going to have to just pay for it out of pocket. Of course. Or you're making the maximum amount on SSDI, which, you know, you're making $1,400 a month, and to get Medicaid you have to pay $600 as a copay.
Yeah.
So explain that to me.
Right. How's it to work?
Right. And so being able to step in and make a difference there is really the big thing. And then, of course, you know, the time away from family is what I would like least about it. For sure.
To Helena.
Yeah. You know, when I look at, you know, we'll reimburse this and reimburse that, you know, if you're running and you need to make it's like $14 an hour, whatever it happens to be, maybe you shouldn't run. And if you really need it, you can have mine.
That was very kind of you. Sure to tell the competition that Paul is giving up his...
100%. And that again with competition too. If we lived in a world where we could actually unite, I wouldn't want to run against SJ.
Right.
It's a ridiculous, you know, in my mind it's kind of ridiculous, but I am on the I'm autistic, so a little bit. I'm a little high functioning.
Right.
Yeah, and so when you have two people that want to better the community, to go, we're going to run against each other rather than unite and make a difference, it makes my mind.
People often do it after the campaign.
Sure,
You know,
sure.
That was a tradition that may have been lost recently.
Oh my goodness!
Well-
we love the same place. We love the same people.
Right,
You
so
know,
it seems like you would unite after a bitter fought campaign. or
Well,
something.
so even the bitter thought, if I have to investigate the person I'm going against to come up with material so you will vote for me, rather than go, here I am.
Right.
That's it. That's all you get. I'm not going to send out, yep, they got an F on the report card. Nope, I'm not going to say anything bad about them.
dirty campaign on your
No,
part.
not into it. No, you'll never see that from me.
Well, of your district, here's question 4. What have you learned about Missoula and Montana while you've been campaigning for the office?
Really, what I've learned is, so almost all of my life, I was raised very Democratic. And so when I was asked to fill the Republican spot, I was a little apprehensive. And so the only reason I actually succumbed to the request is I do have a great faith in God. But with that great faith, I find that I rub a lot of groups the wrong way, because I believe with faith, there comes action. And so when I see faith, no fruit, no action, you're just talking. We have a chronically homeless population.
Yeah.
Who's responsible? How about all the clubs I see throughout town that make $20,000 a week and meet all the time, and we just eat, and we serve ourselves, and our influence never leaves the parking lot. Well, yeah, I have a problem with that, and so I really rub a lot of groups the wrong way.
I see. Well, that may be an asset. And okay, so this may be redundant, but everyone's asked the same questions.
For sure.
And your second to last is, describe some of Missoula's strengths and weaknesses.
Yeah, back
can go
to
in any order you want.
Sure. Are people that are like true Missoulians. When you look at the owners of all the little downtown restaurants and shops and who we are collectively as Missoula, we're incredible. I mean, we're like Missoula. Are you kidding me? We're the Grizz. We're unstoppable.
Right.
I would never ever want to live anywhere else. And then our black eye, our chronically homeless vets. I'm like, what are we doing? Seriously. We've served and we're on the street. Let's, I think we can do better. Yeah, and what are we doing with all of our social programs? All of our social programs, for anyone who's actually being served, they all require recertification every year. The same information. You'll have a dozen entities going, give me your bank account and this information, utilities, and you still live in the same place, and all want the same stuff. And yet this member has a case manager. So now the member has 10 case managers. I think we only need one. I think we could fix things just by, going, maybe you shouldn't be in charge of this anymore.
The easy fix.
Right.
Well, you're up to your final, which is you get to say whatever you want. This is the closing thought part.
Closing thought really is just thank you so much for inviting me.
Welcome.
I outside of what we discussed, I would, just want to extend that if I am elected, I'm going to be your servant. If you don't elect me, I'm going to be your servant.
Oh, well, it's a win-win right there.
It doesn't matter.
Right.
I am going to better our community with all of my life. And so if you want me to advocate for you in Helena, then I will. And if that's not something that you want from me to go there and cause trouble, no, then I'll just continue to work in
on
our
in public
community.
service.
Absolutely, absolutely, 100% of my life. Thank you
Well,
very much.
Thank you. And thank you, dear viewer. Once again, we've been visiting with Christopher Paul Buckles, who is a candidate for House District 100, which is mostly the north side. I wanted to say, make sure you're registered to vote. I'm going to put
Yes.
on the screen right now, very useful site from the state of Montana. It has everything you'd want to know about voting, and you'll see that on the screen. And if you have any trouble, reach out to our elections office. I'll put that number on the screen, and they'll help guide you through the registration process and getting your ballot in the mail or however you want to deliver it. So once again, we feel at MCAT the local elections are very important. That's why we've had an open invitation to all of the representatives of Missoula County to come on the show and give their points of view. Well, thanks again, dear viewer, for MCAT. I'm Joel Baird. We'll see you next time.